Mm-hmm.
Okay. Tell me a story.
Jeff and I went to high school together.
Yeah.
And when I say that, I mean I was a freshman in Omaha at Westside High School. And I think he was a sophomore because he's a year older than I am.
Yeah.
And we all hung out, and we were kind of that group that didn't fit into anything else, that weird outside clique beyond anything. And we had a really solid year and a half, and I moved to Bellevue into another school district. And at the end of that year, which would be sophomore year, his junior year, I moved to Salt Lake City, Utah, with my mom. And when we landed, we went to the hospital because she was pimping for a job, and I was an active cystic fibrosis patient at the time still, and so I went up to the clinic to check out to see what it was like. And there was this really, really, really cute girl in the lobby and the waiting room, and started chatting her up. She was waiting for her clinic visit, and her name was Jennifer Choquette. A couple of months later, it would be June or July. Dude, back off. A couple of months later, it would be June or July, and they started putting out the information for CF camp, and I decided I was going to go. And I can't remember, but I want to say that I went up there with another cystic who was old enough to drive, because I was only 15.
Yeah.
My birthday had just been a little earlier in the year in April. And she kind of flirted hard along the way, but we got there and we got in the parking lot, and I got out of the car and I looked over, and standing at the back of the car next to us as we had pulled up, not as we had pulled up, but standing next to the car that she wasn't there before, was Jen, who had seen me pull up and had remembered me from the waiting room. And at that point, she knew her very well, and it's so horrible because it's so strong in my memory. I remember Jen, but I don't even remember the name of the girl that I went up with.
Wow, Dad.
And so I do remember saying, "So are you going to introduce us?" And we played off like we had never met, so she wasn't going to be too pissed. We immediately connected and stayed together hard. Somewhere in the trunk I had to go through with her mom should be her book from camp. And the quote in the back of the book was the three-legged, four-armed monster that roamed camp all weekend long. And it was a reference to Jen and I, who were inseparable from sunrise to sunset from that moment forward. And then we were a couple hard. And when she would, first off, you have to understand that Grandma at that point was hardcore LDS and was so straight and narrow, I could do no wrong and would not have any opportunity to do no wrong. So the idea of going up and seeing Jen in Idaho was hell no, a hard no. But Jen would be down, and she was severe enough, but still stable enough, but severe enough that she was down every couple of weeks to a month or so. And I would go to the hospital, and we would destroy sections of the University of Utah.
Wow, Dad.
We dated hard and loved each other very much. And I had given her the ring that my father had given my mother. And then my mother got posted to Bethel, Utah, or Bethel, Alaska.
Yeah.
The problem with that is that the choice to go to Bethel, which was the one place that we could go, that Jen necessarily really would not necessarily be able to come visit.
Yeah.
Was that one, because the other place was a posting at a reservation somewhere outside of Flagstaff, really close to something over there. I don't know what it is. At the time, you got to understand that this is 1990, and there was one phone at the hospital that was a sat phone that linked to a satellite that then talked to Seattle, that then went to the landlines that you could pick up at your house. And it was 3 months before we had access to it.
Yeah.
And by then she'd given up, and she said, "I love you very much. Do your own thing. Goodbye."
Yeah.
Which is the only reason she's not your mom. And then that went on. I had the relationship back and forth with different things and different people. And when I had come back from San Francisco, I went a little corny Midwest thing, bowling with Jenny at West Lanes, because that's where I had known and gone. And Jeff happened to come in there with Kendra for whatever reason and saw me and stood there until I realized it was him, and we reconnected. And then Jeff and Kendra are the only reason that your mom and I had someplace to land when we got to Omaha.
Yeah.
And they went through tooth and nail to keep everything stable to help us get here and be in their apartment long enough to find places of our own. And they're the reason that we actually got kicked off. And then your mom got pregnant with Katie, and we got married. And then you came around. And then everything went down with your mom and the decisions that she decided to make, which long stem allowed me to have enough time to start recovering from that. When Grandma calls me and tells me that she needs all of this stuff done and it's time sensitive and I have to be at her place this day. I don't remember what day it was. It was a T day. It was a Tuesday or a Thursday. By 2 o'clock. And at 2:15 the phone rings. And on the phone is Jennifer, who was getting ready to start her final semester for her master's in accounting, her MBA with a concentration in capstone in accounting, and was hunting the big three that had offices in Omaha on LinkedIn for different things, and ran into my mother's old posting account for LinkedIn, and then went through that. And then we talked on the phone for, I don't know how many months that was, probably 5-6 months. And then the week, not even the week, that, I was thinking it was like the 12th to the 13th of February, I flew out to Boise as a friend after having conversations with her. Basically, we knew each other hard as kids. We're adults. We both had a life. You've been married once and had him walk after a transplant. The transplant, she had the double lung transplant in 2001. And honestly, I don't know whether or not he just was looking at the physical changes that started to happen to her, or just looked at the amount of work that he was going to have to do when he bailed. And so she had been through a marriage. I had been through a marriage. I had 2 children. I was still raising them. I had already decided and dedicated that, they were my sole purpose. And it didn't matter what I needed or what I wanted to do personally. The whole purpose of something was, is it something to keep them stable enough for what they need? And what they needed and wanted was to keep in West Side. And partly that was because I decided early on that I wanted to keep my kids in one school district after my mom basically floated me so many places. I didn't even graduate high school. I had to take a GED to equal myself to be able to start doing stuff like college.
I don't know how you raised us. You're crazy.
Because by the time
did it out of your ass. I
lost count somewhere around 16 at 60 moves with Grandma. And so at 18, literally like a week after my birthday, I moved back down to Omaha on my own for the first time. I brought her down solely as a friend, with that agreement right up front. And it developed back hard.
I remember when she freaking came in with all her shit. I'm like, the fuck did she... how much shit does this one have? And I'm like, damn, dude.
I had no idea. I got up there and I was like, you gotta be kidding me. You gotta be kidding me. I mean, I thought you were talking about like a 12 or a 14. How did we go to a 26-foot truck? And,
Dude, I felt invaded. I was like, the fuck is this woman?
Really quickly, very quickly, it turned into something that I was able to look at her and I did not see the chubby cheeks. I didn't see any of that. I was able to look her in the eye and I saw that person I knew.
Yeah.
And so just falling hard, mad love, in love with her again was just simple because outside of some things that she couldn't do and some things that she could never do, and there were some things that she could just never do, especially with the rods in her back, and it was like that when I knew her to begin with. The only thing that had changed is that there was just a little more of her to love, and her personality had just grown even more, and she was still the same free, open person more than anything. And so at that time, between the divorce, between finding out actually what was on my leg, having to deal with the divorce, as well as your mom's not my problem attitude, even to this day, sometimes it's hard to say, and the cancer, and going through treatment, I was really in a really incredibly dark place for a long time.
Yeah, I know, I remember.
And she was so full of light, not just life, that she was able to show it to me again in ways that I had never seen. And for the first time in my life, even though I will always be grateful for your mother to be the mother of my children, giving me you two, who are individually amazing.
Yeah, blower. I love you too.
Jen was able to give me a relationship after years of making other people, not my own needs, even to the sacrifice of not being able to smile due to lack of teeth for a decade plus, or more at this point, probably 17 years.
Yeah.
A relationship with no real boundaries, no secrets, nothing out of bounds or off limits. Anything was possible with her.
Yeah.
Anything could be talked about. And there was nothing that happened in the past that could not be discussed or mentioned that was going to be judged in some way.
Yeah.
And that's probably the biggest thing that I lost.
Yeah.
Is that level of a relationship.
Yeah.
People talk about soulmate. They don't really expand on what that means. It means a relationship where you don't have those predispositions, that you inherit the negative, that you are freely able to just be with that person as who you are, and to be able to accept them for who they are, in all of who they are. And as long as you're able to be honest about that from the beginning, and you're able to find that person, don't question it. Break down whatever boundary you need to. Get over it, be with them, and hold on to them for as long as you can. Because unfortunately, it really sucks, but it's finite. So I was able to hold on to 7 amazing years with someone. And that was always the argument, which one do we go by? What really honestly is our anniversary? She would always argue with me, I don't know, is it the wedding? Is it when I found you again? Is it when you landed at Boise, which would make it Valentine's Day, we could steal it? Or is it going all the way back?
Dad, it's going all the way back.
And so, it was who it was.
And to find out that, you know, in the end, she was just kind of trying to keep a little bit of distance so she didn't overwhelm me to begin with when she landed. But, you know, all it took was just rounding the corner again. It was that kind of power. And so hold on to it, and hold on to it hard for as long as you can. And if you think that you have that, then keep it. And that's the biggest lesson on that and the whole thing that I can give you, I think.
Yeah.